Sure.
I got you.
Got me? Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't hearing myself.
No, I muted it.
Oh, well, you know, so this is sort of a new format for us for our first Sunday of the month, and we're calling it Divine Conversations. And it's, we're going to be a little bit more casual, and hence the Aloha shirt. And so we're going to proclaim our first Sundays of the month is casual Sundays. And we encourage you to wear something festive like this Aloha shirt, or you might call it a Hawaiian shirt. You may not be aware of the fact that I actually lived in Hawaii I went to high school in Hawaii, and it was a marvelous experience. It really was. So I really got used to these shirts, and I love them. They're comfortable, and so I call them Aloha shirts, but you can call them Hawaiian shirts. But at the same time, Aloha is a greeting in Hawaii, but what it means love and fellowship. So anyway, and we encourage you to wear Aloha or Hawaiian shirt next first Sunday of every month. Okay. Okay, so today we have a guest with us today. So during these divine conversations, to have a conversation, you have to have two people. So we have Louise Klimczak with us today. And let me just read a little bit about Louise. Louise is a clinical hypnotherapist. Her specialties include behavior modification, addictionology, mind, body, birthing, fibromyalgia, and life coaching. While she closed her office in 2020, she continues to deliver workshops and presentations, as well as work privately with small groups. So she is available to work privately for small groups. She's a recognized therapeutics touch practitioner and active member of the TTNO since 1996. Louise believes in incorporating a variety of tools and techniques involved in physical, mental, and spiritual aspect on an individual in a holistic approach to health and wellness. So in 2003, Louise founded the first holistic well center in the area. So Louise, I invite you to come up and join me, please, and give her a hand. So glad to have you here.
Glad to be here. Carry on.
So Louise, before we get into our discussion, you have been in Unity for what, about 17 years as a member?
Approximately that. I joined. I first came to Unity on and off for a few years, and then I joined. I believe it was 26. It took me a while because.
Can't hear her, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
What, don't we have the headset? That's.
It's on, I just wonder.
Oh, is the headset there?
Sorry, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to just be closer up on you.
Actually, I thought we were going to use the headset.
Oh, I didn't go that far.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's.
Check. Certainly did. I'm so sorry, everyone. Eloise, I'm sorry, you'll have to use the handheld. I'm really sorry. Could have swore it was working.
There we go.
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, we had a little bit of a problem the last time with the mic, so we got a new mic, and now, anyway, isn't this fun?
It certainly is fun. It's not predictable, but we go with the flow. So I joined in 2006, but I had been coming to Unity on and off. I was first invited by a friend of mine who belonged to Unity, and the very first time I came, I was greeted at the door which a warm greeting, and I came in. It was at the bookstore, the library on Wyandotte, and I came in the room, and I immediately felt at home. It was just the feeling of home, but I didn't buy it right away. I'd been fooled before. So I kept going back on and off, and then my friend invited me to participate in a class at Unity. They were studying the Quest, the big blue book, and so I came to that. I was quite interested. I came, and I think I attended 2 or 3 classes, and then I wasn't quite ready. But I kept the book. I had bought the book, and I read it. And one time in my practice, when I was deciding on whether or not I was going to open a center, I had the book on my desk, and I thought, okay, what am I going to do? Should I do that? And I thought, okay, I'll ask a question. And I asked the question, and I opened the book, and there it was, plain as can be. So that's the story. So then, again, I came on and off, and then in 2006, I decided to join.
And what makes you keep on coming back?
It still feels like home. It still feels like home. It's learning, it's developing, it's growing. I wouldn't be anywhere else.
You know, you're saying that it reminded me of my first visit to a Unity congregation. I'd stayed out of church. I grew up in a fundamentalist church, and after I left high school, I just dropped out of church. And for 15 years, I didn't set foot except maybe for a wedding or a funeral. That's the only time I'd ever went to a church. And then someone invited me. Again, our advertising, word of mouth, is the absolute best advertising, you know. So if you want to see more people, invite them. And you came because somebody invited you. I came to my first Unity congregation when I was invited by someone. And just like you, I remember just feeling so accepted, so at home. I mean, literally, I just sat at the back and I just started crying. I felt the energy. I felt the love. And I think people, when I ask people, why are you here and why do you keep on coming? They say that same thing, that they feel that complete acceptance and they feel love. Yeah.
Something else that was brand new for me is I was brought up Catholic, and I was still practicing Catholic, kind of. And the difference between God is me, I am divine, and over there I was to be fixed.
Yeah.
That was a big, big, big eye-opener for me. I was created in the image and the likeness of God, but I wasn't. And here I am. So that was a big draw for me.
Yeah, a completely different message than what I was getting from my fundamentalist church. So, right now we are in a process of we're exploring Robert Brummett's book, The Quest for Wholeness, Healing Ourselves, Healing Our World. The chapter we're looking at today, and I asked Louise to read it before we had our conversation, is chapter 4. We're on chapter 4 right now, and we're exploring one chapter, about 2 of them a month. And right now, the chapter we're on is Spiritual Alchemy, the Transformation of Suffering. And alchemy, back in the medieval times, there were researchers or scientists or people that believed that there was a secret, there was a way to, with the right information and everything, that you could actually turn a base metal like lead into gold. And so these people were called alchemists. But there were also people that were alchemists that were looking at it from a totally different perspective. And they were looking at turning our personal human self into that spiritual essence or golden essence of what we truly are, the spiritual beings that we are. And that was the alchemy that they were looking for. And so that's what we're talking about today.
So healing ourselves and healing our world is what we're also talking about. So as I heal myself, I become different. I become the light. I become an alchemist, actually, transforming myself from a sufferer to a healed person, so to being whole instead of, like I said earlier, broken. So Robert Burnett invites us to look at our responses to suffering in a different way. So and I'm going to quote here, suffering gives us an opportunity to awaken from the dream of the human mind to the reality of divine mind. That is the alchemy. So many people, we read stories, biographies, and people have been healed and completely changed their mind. Other people just suffer and I'm going to say almost enjoy suffering. I have seen many people come for therapy and they have this kind of problem, that kind of problem. And then they come once or twice and we give them some ideas of things to do or ways that they can change, to begin to change. And in the office, I've seen so many people like that, and they would come once or twice, and as soon as things start changing, they stop coming because they're not ready to heal. They're not willing to let go of their pain. And so they're using their pain as the gift instead of using their healing as the gift. Because in your healing, in your pain, in your suffering, there is always a gift. There is a gift. Burnett also talks about non-resistance. So that's what I'm talking about, resisting to changing because we're not seeing the possibilities within ourselves. If we resist the healing, if we are ill or suffering in some way, and we resist, then it only gets stronger, and we fight, and it takes two to fight, so the illness or the suffering and the person doing the suffering. I'm going to quote again, and then we'll go into my story. He writes, spiritual healing begins when we are willing to see our suffering as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Healing begins when we can open ourselves to the possibility of a hidden gift within the suffering. There is no such thing as a problem without a gift for you in its hands. Whether the suffering is physical, mental, emotional, doesn't really matter because we cannot separate physical suffering from mental or emotional suffering. When we suffer, we are a whole, so when we suffer in some way, the whole of us suffers. I am going to share my story, hopefully without tearing up, so you'll forgive me. I suffered an illness for 9 years. And I think I shared that story with some of you before. I had a lot of support. It was positive thinking and positive doing and acting that got me through. But at some point in this 9 years, there was a low point. I remember one time, I was alone in the house, so that was probably in my 8th year. We had exhausted all the doctors in Windsor, the dentists, the psychologists, the neurologists. We went to London, we went to the States, and to finally be told that, you probably have to learn to live with it. Nobody could give me a solution. And so I'm alone in the house on that day. I'm on my bed, and I started crying. And I was crying, and I was raging. I was angry, and I was really hitting my pillow and just absolutely raging. And I kept saying, I don't want this, I don't want that. This is the pits, this is the pits, this is the pits. And I was really screaming at the top of my head. I was really letting it out. And I'm saying, this is the pits, it's the pits. And then I heard, I'm telling you, I don't know who said that. I was alone in the house. But some voice came and said, and what are pits but seeds? What will you do with those seeds? And that was my turning point. That's the day that I decided I would heal myself. And as a turning point, after that, just a few months later, I found therapeutic touch, which was the first time I felt relief of my pain. The pain was in my face and in my neck and down my back. So I found therapeutic touch. First time I experienced relief of my pain. And through therapeutic touch, I found hypnosis. And through hypnosis, I was healed. As opposed to 9 years, it was 6 sessions of hypnosis. And I was healed. I threw out my pills the very next day, everything. And through that, I started, I thought, I got to do something. I got to do something because if I went through this, others have gone through this as well, are going through this. So I became a hypnotherapist to help others. So that was my journey. That was my big gift. I found, through my healing, through my illness, I found my passion and my mission. It's there. We just need to discover it. Do you want to read the poem now?
Okay. We were talking about this and the suffering and Robert Brummett in his book quotes the poem "The Guest House" by the 13th century Persian poet Jalaluddin Rumi. You've all heard of Rumi, probably most famous, well-loved Persian poet ever. And so he quoted this, and this poem has always touched me. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing out for you for some delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from the beyond.
Whoops.
Our experiences of suffering can transform us, if we don't get ourselves lost in the fear and the anger and,
Absolutely. And again, you have to be ready. And how do you get ready? You have to examine yourself or, do some self-searching every day and look at, where am I going with this? Do I want to suffer the rest of my life, or do I really want to get out of there and do something with it? Or do something other than? I just want to touch on healing and curing, and Robert also mentioned that. Healing is not the same as curing. Healing is a different thing. It's healing our whole body, becoming whole in the moment. It can cure once we heal the suffering of our soul or our spirit or our body. When we heal, curing can occur. Look at Myrtle Fillmore. In her change, in her understanding of thoughts, she healed herself. She did the work. We have to do the work as well. It's not just, there's going to be something that happens and we are healed or we are cured. We have to do the work ourselves. We have to participate. He quotes here, God works within ourselves, through ourselves, not for ourselves. So once you find the way, get on it and do the work, and you will be healed. In our experience of suffering, we are called to struggle. We're called to struggle, to search, to surrender in ways that we would not consider if we were not given this assignment. When day-to-day life happens, we don't stop to think a lot of times. We're so busy doing, we're not taking the time for just being and looking inside ourselves. And that's very, very important. Especially now, life is so fast, there's so much to do, and there's so much stuff to punch in and electronics, and we don't take the time enough to just be. We do. So that's very, very important. We have lots of time, right?
Yes, we've got plenty of time.
The essence of wholeness is within us. And the book is called The Quest for Wholeness. I can't think of a better picture or a better example than the caterpillar. And he mentions caterpillar in there. Now, I'm a very big fan of butterflies, so that caught me right away. Within the caterpillar, if you think about it, within the caterpillar is the essence of the butterfly. Just like within us, human, is the essence of wholeness of spirit. We already are, we just have to take the caterpillar and let it be transformed. Cocooning is how the caterpillar becomes a butterfly. And so I compare cocooning to the suffering. So the caterpillar, us, walk around and eat and walk around and eat. So we do. We have a meal, we do. We do something else. But we don't stop to think of, most of the time, the dangers. First of all, being stepped on or whatever. We're busy doing. But when we decide to go into, or when life happens to throw us a suffering of some kind, an illness of some kind, it's time to cocoon. It's time to think about how can I be transformed. So the butterfly goes in this cocoon, and it must, in order to be a butterfly, the caterpillar has to die to what it is today. It's no longer going to be a caterpillar. It will be transformed, but it has to die to what it is today, just like we have to let go of what we are today, how we are today, to be transformed. So during the suffering, during the transformation, there's a whole bunch of stuff that takes place, and that story you sent me was gorgeous, by the way. So think of it as the cocooning, the occasion, the time to do your transformation and to let go of things that are no longer serving you, that are not taking you to your wholeness. And we must struggle. We have to do the work, like I said earlier. We must struggle, because if a human tries to open the cocoon to a butterfly, as soon as we touch this cocoon that we try to open, it dies. So we need to do the work. The struggle of the butterfly to get out of the cocoon is what makes it strong. Just like the struggle, the search, the work that we must do is what makes us strong. And once we emerge, just like the butterfly, we are free. And when we are free and when we have learned, think of the butterfly flying around, sitting on a flower, no longer crawling on the ground, and it can see the world in a different perspective. Things have changed. It sees things differently, just the same as when we change, when we are transformed, we look at things differently. I know that I'm not thinking the same way that I was 20 years ago. Thank goodness I'm not. I've made many mistakes, and I'm still making mistakes, and I'm going to have many cocoonings to come, I'm sure. We all do. But once we see the world differently, we can be differently, and we can become part, or I don't think we're ever complete in wholeness until we are done. And when I am completely done, I won't be here. I will definitely see the world in a different perspective, because I won't be here. And I hope I don't have to come to start all over again. However, we'll see. So we have within us not only the possibility, but already the wholeness. We just need to develop it and work at it. Anything you want to ask?
I thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So the true solution to every human problem lies in the discovery of our spiritual nature. The recognition that we are more than just a human being. We are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I used to think that phrase was so, I don't know, it didn't sit right with me for a long time until I totally understood it.
Until you could live with it.
I think until I could live with it.
Yeah.
So I would like to, if it's okay, take you to an exercise of change. So if you would like to close your eyes and just relax for a few moments. And I want you to imagine that it's fall. I know we're just getting into spring, but for today, for just a moment, it's going to be fall. And I want you to find yourself in the garden, a garden, which I'm going to call the garden of your life. And it's fall, and as you walk around and look in the garden of your life, you can see there's a whole bunch of dead leaves on the ground. And it's time to clean them up. In the fall, we clean up the yard for the spring. So I want you to get a rake. Just imagine a rake. And start raking those leaves. Now those leaves in your garden represents your suffering. Every little pain, every argument, every disappointment. There's a leaf there that represents a loss. Another one that represents something else that is important or was important in your life. I want you to gather up all those leaves, because we're going to set fire to them, just like we do sometimes in the fall. I want you to name the leaves as you're doing that. Find all the hurts, all the suffering, and put them up in a heap. And when you're ready, I want you to set fire to them. Just set fire and watch it burn. Get rid of those dead thoughts. get rid of them and watch the smoke go up, 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 until there is absolutely nothing but the ashes. And I want you to imagine there's a big gust of wind that comes and blows those ashes all over the place, gone. Gone. You don't need them. You never needed them. You've done with them. Gone. Now I want you to go to the corner of the garden. There's a little corner there that's quite clean. Still grass, still green grass there. There's something left there for you. A little box. I want you to pick up the box and open it. It is full of beautiful seeds that you will plant next year in the spring. I want you to hold on to those seeds, and you can name them. Those seeds are precious. They're your gift. The gift that you will grow and make the changes in your garden. Your garden will never be the same again. Hold on to those precious seeds. Make sure that you plant them in the spring. I want you to look around your garden and know that all that stuff is gone and you'll never see it again. And now I invite you to come out of your garden and into this room, free, liberated, unloaded. Come on out and be with us again.
So we're going to, being that Louise is our guest today, we're going to open the floor up for some questions. If you have any questions or comments that you would like to direct for Louise. And what I'm going to do, Louise, is since we're having a problem with our...
I've got it working, actually.
Did you? Do you have it working? Okay. Well, in that case, can you give it to her?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then I'll take that because I'm going to take this out and I'll turn mine off.
Thank you.
There we go. So, is there any questions? Yes. Or comments?
Thanks, Reverend T. Thanks, Louise. Really got a lot of the metaphor of the caterpillar and the butterfly. I remember seeing a cartoon, a meme online, and it's a conversation on a branch. There's the insecure caterpillar is looking at the butterfly and asks the butterfly, is everything going to be okay? Anticipating that it's going to go in the cocoon and turn into, what it turns into is pus. It liquefies.
Yep.
So the psychological transformation that you went through with all of that suffering that you had, that physical suffering. So the little caterpillar asked the butterfly, is everything going to be okay? And the butterfly looks down with a smile and says, it's going to be awesome. But there's going to be some suffering. So I just wanted to share that.
There is suffering.
Thank you, Ken.
The caterpillar has to die to itself. It actually, like you say, liquefies and gets gooey kind of thing in the cocoon. And the cocoon is what protects it. And so, yeah, it's going to be awesome. It is awesome.
I'm feeling awesome.
And this is exactly what Jesus was talking about when he said you must be born again. You have to die first to be born again. It's dying to the old, dying to your human self, and recognizing the divine being that you are, and living from that realization. Anybody else?
Taking responsibility first. No, that's okay. No, just in general, what you're talking about to me is more so when you take responsibility every day to make yourself better.
If it's going to be,
And
it's up
challenge
to me.
yourself. And as you start to learn, those things start to fall into place. They're not hardships. They're actually just part of every day when you take responsibility.
That's right.
That's how I look at it.
It's our part of our growth. It's the growth process. Yeah.
Hey, just to share that I realize that when we are suffering, for me, most of the time is that I am like projecting my own insecurities and fears on what the people say, what they do. And if we don't realize that, we keep projecting and suffering. But when I understand that, I say, oh, that reminds me like when I was a child, this happened to me, and I got the same feeling right now. The situation is just kind of the same. So the only way for me to feel better is like detach from that projection, like see the situation in a new way. Like now I'm not a child, now I'm an adult, my life is different. I have options, and I have the option to see and feel the situation in a different way.
Yes, and if we do not change ourselves, we do not change the situation. If we don't do anything ourselves, like today, right now, whether it's a small action, a small decision, but we change the situation by changing ourselves. So what was, and yes, it's affecting you today, and I've worked with many people with that kind of stuff. That was what I did. But today, I change me. So when I change me, I changed things around me. Those of us who work with energy will know that when your energy is low or when your energy is negative, and that's what you're saying exactly. You're spreading this, but if you change you, your energy changes, and that goes all the way. It changes everybody around us. If we want to change our world, we have to start one person at a time. We can't change the whole world, but we can change us, which changes others, and others change, and then it goes on. It's like a ripple.
Anyone else have a comment or a question? And thank you, Alma, for that question.
In my experience, the suffering comes from me resisting. That I'm the one creating the suffering and staying in the fear. And I like them. Thanks for sharing your story. Also, the meditation was really neat. I remember burning the leaves and baking some potatoes. And that thought came up in the meditation. And now I take a lot of the leaves I compost, and also the realization that the compost will provide the nutrients for the seeds, and the realization also that the seeds are going to create more leaves. So it's just, as you were saying, many more caterpillars.
Yes, sir.
And many more butterflies.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bob. Maria?
I just wanted to say something about resisting. Robert Burnett talks about the resistance. If we resist, it gets stronger. And rather than seeing it as a personal failure or something that's wrong with us, if we look at, this is an occasion to transform myself. It's not, we're not resisting. If the evil that he calls the situation. If the evil, if we ignore it, it'll go away. If we stay with it and we fight it, it's going to fight back. So yeah, don't resist, just let it go.
So it's just two things came to mind when you were speaking. Just right now, when you were talking about resist, I'm sure most of you heard this little quote, right, or slogan: "Whatever we resist persists." Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you. But the other thing, when you talked about change, one of my favorite quotes is Gandhi's quote, and I have it on my fridge and all over the place: "Be the change you want to see in the world." And I always just try to remind myself, especially when I start, those old negative tapes start. This or that about that person, to come back to, I have to be the change. I have to do it if I want to see a change in the world. Thank you for everything.
A lot of times we tend to repeat, like you say, we replay the hurt, or we relive it, and when we do that, it just gets stronger, and it's harder to let go. If we just, I had a fight today, and I'm just going to let it go today. I'm not going to wait until tomorrow when I've thought about it several times and just make it so strong that I have to work harder at it. So what happens today, get rid of it today.
Yeah, feedback loop. Okay. Well, thank you. And we are going to do one more meditation. So I'm going to invite Luis to close this section by having another meditation.
So if you would make yourself comfortable, you can close your eyes if you would like. And just start by taking a breath. Don't make it a forced breath. Just be conscious of your breath. Just allow yourself to be conscious when your chest rises and falls with your breath. And with the next breath, I want you to make it a little bit deeper. But I want you to breathe from your belly, not with your shoulders. A nice deep breath. And as you let that one out, just allow your body to become relaxed and comfortable. And I would like you to bring your attention to that center of yourself, that place where your light is. The place where your Christ light is. And we tend to forget about this light every once in a while. We go about our life and we don't think of checking in every day or so many times a day. But I want you to check in with it right now, and I want you to allow that light to become brighter, just the way that it should be, to fill that center of you. Make the light as bright as can be. This is your Christ light. Feel it. Observe it. Know it. I invite you to let it shine as bright as can be. This is the light that will illuminate your way. The light that takes you, that shows you where things need to be changed. When you leave here today, that light will guide you. It will show you today or tomorrow where to go, how to do it. stay with the light for a moment. This is your guide to transformation. I'm going to be silent for a moment as you stay with the light and allow it to fill you completely. And maybe you will hear something, words, or maybe you will not hear the words, but you will know the message. When you leave here today, go out and shine your light. Shine your light so that everyone around you will know that you are bright, that you are there. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to this place this time.
Thank you so much, Louise, for being here and for your talk, for your story and sharing. I just appreciate it so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you need the mic. Okay. So how do y'all like this format? We are planning on doing it once a month, the first Sunday of every month, and have different guests and different subjects. So thank you. Thank you for your questions also.
And I would like to thank Louise also. All that you brought forth is personal experiences. I think in any of the talks that are given, the personal experiences teach us the most. And you have given us a wonderful, wonderful talk about your personal experience and your meditation about our hearts being our guide. Well, Jesus said, I am the light of the world, and each one of us, we can say that all together. I am the light of the world. We all shine. Thank you again, Louise. That was just wonderful. Oh, and I've got to thank Angelica here. Thank you so much for doing 2 jobs today.
Thank you.
3 jobs.
Let's go an even 1.5.
I think you did a lot of things today. What would we do without you?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you, Angelica. And also I want to thank Leo over there doing all of the live streaming and technical stuff. So thank you, Leo. So at this time, let us take to heart our vision, mission, and statement of being, which is shown on the screen.
We have a global vision. Would you please speak that with me? Our vision is a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening
And we have a sacred mission. Will you say that with me? We inspire and empower spiritual growth to awaken us and transform the world.
And we have a personal statement of being. Will you please say that with me? I am a dynamic center of the Christ light, mighty to unfold my good and radiate that good to all.
Well, we do have a few
Mennonite Church, Leamington. Enjoy an afternoon of musical performances by Da Capo, Bill Cervini, Angelica Reed, and Melissa Vaggi, accompanied by Michael Karloff. Admissions by goodwill donation will be collected, with all proceeds going to Erie Shores Hospice Campus, Leamington.
So also please join us next Sunday, June the 11th, as Mariette Jones presents a talk, and her title is Spiritual Keys to Aging Well. Something very appropriate for a few of us. Oh, and I want to remind you also that Monica has already started upstairs. So Monica is our chaplain, prayer chaplain today. So if you would like someone to pray with, she's a marvelous prayer partner. So she is up there in the prayer chapel next to the kitchen.
All of our classes, programs, and services are made possible by your generous donations. Our heartfelt thanks for your continuous support. We've created many easy ways to donate, which you can find on our website.
You know, we do have a love offering box up here at the front, right as you come in from the foyer, and you can drop in any love offering or donation there. But I do want to remind you to if you want a tax receipt for your donation, you do need to put your full name on there, on the envelope, and print it so we can read it. And but anyway, that way we can assure that you get a tax receipt. Thank you.
So now I invite you to please stand, and let's open our hearts and minds in gratitude as we close by speaking out loud or silently our love offering prayer, followed by the peace song and closing with the prayer for protection.
Divine love in me and through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Thank you, God.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us.
I am light.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am love.
The power of God protects us.
I am power.
And the presence of God watches over us.
I am presence.
And wherever we are, God is.
I am divine.
And my friends, you truly are. Thank you for being here, and please join us upstairs.